CloudSplitter Coffee applauds those who get up and get after it, no matter the conditions. They know that kick-ass coffee and outdoor adventure are the perfect pair. CloudSplitter Coffee is ethically sourced and expertly roasted, keeping you caffeinated, satisfied, and most importantly, outside. Your coffee, just like your wildest backcountry story, should be bold and brag-worthy. Head over to cloudsplittercoffee.com and use the promo code ADK10 to receive a special discount specifically for 46 of 46 podcast listeners. And you'll also like to know that the founder of this company is a winter Adirondack 46er. CloudSplitter Coffee, for the love of the grind. We're up here on top of Mount Marcy, just waiting for the sun to rise. Day 2 of the Northville Placid Trail is in the books. Well, life doesn't get much better than this open ridge walk on Jay Mountain, and we're at the summit of Lower Wolfjaw, our 8th high peak of the day here on the Great Range Traverse. Well, it's 4:30 a.m., heading a big slide today, and it's -4 degrees here at the parking lot. Bushwhacking our way up Green Mountain, and I have to say, the trees are winning this fight today. Well, the sun is shining and the wind is whipping here up on Haystack. Next stop, Saddleback Cliffs. Cock-a-doodle-doo from the summit of Roostercomb. Scarface might be the most underrated hike in the entire park. 60-mile-an-hour winds up on Hurricane. Very fitting, cruising up the Bald Rock slab here on Bald Mountain. Standing up here on the summit of Catamount Mountain, Iroquois, Mount Van Hovenberg, Skylight, Santanoni. You're listening to the 46 of 46 podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the 46 of 46 podcast. I hope your summer is off to a fast start. I know for myself, I'm out on the road for work right now, but I've been able to get lots of great outdoors time and just the typical summertime fun in the Adirondacks. In my opinion, it is the best time of year, and it's definitely the busiest time of year. So I think most of you would agree it is the time where you get up to the park, you enjoy all those beautiful outdoors activities that we have to do, and you just take it in. Ah, the summer, the green trees, the smells, the sunny days, the blue skies, so many bluebird days. Of course, it rains a lot, but we all know that. That's why it's so green, right? But summertime in the Adirondack Park is hard to beat. And I hope your summers have been off to a good start so far. I know for me, I've been able to do a bunch of hiking, even though I'm gone during the week and I'm home on the weekends, but I've been able to get some good mountain time in. Had some nice days up Cascade and Porter, Big Crow. Those are some mountains I like to frequent. Have a great time every time I go up those mountains. What else have I done? My family went out to Round Pond, which was actually the first time that I've ever been to Round Pond. And it was the first time my baby girl, Rosemary, she is 9 months old, we threw her in my Osprey kids backpack. And then my other 2 daughters and my wife, we all had a nice trip into Round Pond, just a little family stroll. And that was a great time. Perfect blue, sunny sky day. Really can't beat it. There's just always so much to do in the Adirondacks this time of year. And again, you know, it's like I passed that Round Pond trailhead so many times, and I've actually never stopped there. It's also where you can, hit the Dix Range from Route 73 outside Keene Valley, just past the giant Rocky Peak Ridge, Chapel Pond area as you're heading towards I-87's Northway. So those are some things I've done so far this summer. I've done some fishing, which is always a good time. And it's easy, obviously, to do some fishing around the Adirondacks, especially the Lake Placid, Saranac Lake area, which is usually where I do most of that. But this week on the podcast, I wanted to go through my top 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer. So if you hear some things on this list, add it to your itinerary. Or if you're planning a trip up here to the Adirondacks, hit all 10 of these things and you will leave with the biggest smile on your face because you had the quintessential epic Adirondack vacation. There's so much to do here, and quite frankly, I could make this list so long, but we'll keep it to 10 because, it's a good number, good even number, and it's Again, there's so many things that you can do and places to go, businesses to go to, outdoors things to do. But here's my top 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer. So I hope you get some inspiration from this episode and check out some things or do some things that you've never done before. What does summer represent? What is the thing that every person in the Adirondacks needs to do when they come up here in the summer? And I'm going to tell you something. That is, you need to eat some ice cream from an ice cream stand. Man, we have so many different ice cream stands around the Adirondack Park, and they're all your typical summer spots, but does anything scream summertime more than a soft serve cone that's about to fall off the ice cream cone? And whenever you're at the ice cream stand, there's always 3 or 4 just splotches from people who lost their ice cream, maybe 10 minutes earlier. But I feel that was how I wanted to start this list. You gotta have some ice cream. And let me tell you something. If you guys have never had ice cream at Donnelly's Ice Cream on Route 86 between Saranac Lake and Lake Clear, please add it to your list. Get out to Donnelly's Ice Cream. So if you're not familiar, even though I'm sure most of you are familiar and probably know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of it's the best ice cream on the planet. And I'll go to war with people about this conversation and subject. My mother-in-law is actually not impressed with it. So I know there are some people who don't care for it because they think it's too creamy, which is absolutely insane if you ask me. But the Donnelly's Ice Cream. So this is a little ice cream stand. It's at a farm. It's right off the road. It is just your textbook ice cream stand on the side of the road. Like if there was a Hollywood movie, this is what it would be based after. So when you go to Donnelly's, you don't get to choose anything except the size. You just choose small, medium, or large. Or I guess technically it's probably baby, small. No, it's baby, regular, and large. It's a little pricey, but what isn't pricey these days as far as ice cream goes or really anything in life? But it is just the creamiest ice cream that's ever been made. The ice cream machine that they make it out of is like from the 1940s, I think, something like that. So that is what makes it so much different than your typical soft serve ice cream. Because in my opinion, soft serve ice cream I've never had it taste different. It's always tastes the same, I feel like, from stand to stand to stand. But Donnelly's ice cream, it tastes different. It's like a different shape, even, on the cone. And it's all because of this ice cream maker that they have. It's the real deal. But let me tell you something, please, if you come up to the Adirondacks, into the High Peaks region, do yourself a favor, even if it's, a 40-minute drive, 30-minute drive from Lake Placid, go out to Donnelly's, treat yourself to a big, yummy ice cream cone. And if you're not coming to the High Peaks region, the Adirondack Park is filled with little ice cream stands. And these are the places that they are only open in the summer. So they need your business. And I just think that nothing kicks off the summer more like ice cream. And let me tell you something. For all you people, diet-minded people, and I am one of those people, summertime is ice cream time. Enjoy yourself a little bit. Make some memories. Have some ice cream. So that is the first thing on my list of the 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer. Now, moving on. Now, I know all of you listening to this podcast, you're itching to hit the trail. So, with that in mind, I figured I got to throw a couple mountains on this because what's better to do in the summertime than climb mountains? Not much, in my opinion. Even though we're going to get to some other great things on this list. But hiking, you're all going to come up here. You're all going to hit some mountains. So I have a couple mountains that I wanted to showcase. They're trails that are, off the beaten path a bit. You're not going to find the giant crowds like you might find at, obviously Cascade, Porter, Giant, the Adirondack Lodge. You're going to find tons of people there. But there's some other mountains, some gems that I wanted to mention. Those 2 gems include Silver Lake Mountain and the Nundigo Ridge. And again, I probably butchered that name, but the Nundigo Ridge is actually at the Big Crow's Clearing trailhead in Keene. It's a great hike. Both of those hikes are awesome. They're family friendly. And they're also, if you don't have a family, you don't have kids, you're an advanced hiker, they're still fantastic. But you won't find the crowds like you're going to find in a lot of these other mountains. So those are 2 that I wanted to highlight to give you, push you in a direction that you don't hear people talk about either of those mountains very often. And I think they're great. I actually have a I have a podcast episode about both of them. So if you want to check those out, I highly recommend scrolling back down on your podcast player and listening to those episodes. The Nundago Ridge, and again, sorry for butchering the name. It's like a mini version of the Dix Range. You go around the ridge and you keep coming out to these lookouts, and then as you keep going around, you keep seeing where you came from and where you're going, which is very similar to when you're on the Dix Range and you're just going around the range. It's very cool. I like it a lot. And when I've done it, I've never run into anybody else ever. And then Silver Lake Mountain, it's also kind of like off the beaten trail. It's out there. It's a little ways away from anything else. But again, it's a cool hike. It's going to get your heart pumping. It's got a great view and a unique view. So those, in terms of hiking, even though most of you probably already know where you're going to go hiking, those are two mountains and two trails that I wanted to highlight because, again, they're just trails that you're not going to run into a lot of people on. And I know that's a must-have for many people. Moving on, number 3 on my top 10 things to do in the 80K this summer. Go visit the Adirondack Experience Museum in Blue Mountain Lake. So last year I did an episode called the Appleton's Adirondack Staycation. And we went to this museum in Blue Mountain Lake because I've wanted to go for a long time. I've passed it many times. I obviously pass it every time when I drive to Old Forge. It's in Blue Mountain Lake. And I could not believe how amazing it is. If you like history of any kind and you like the Adirondacks, it is a must-see, must-go-to place. It's one of those museums where once you walk in, you're like, holy cow, I can't believe this exists in the Adirondacks. This is like a legitimate place. As I know, I'm the first person to say it. Once you cross over into the blue line in the Adirondack Park, it feels a lot of times like you go back in time. Maybe we're a little behind on, like this or that, but that museum can hold its own with any museum I've ever been to. They do an absolutely fantastic job, and just learning the history of this park and, the settlers that built it and like what life was like and the trains and the old cottages and the mining history and the logging history. I mean, it's so cool. And the campus itself is huge. Once again, I could not believe how huge it was and how great it is, but I can't recommend it enough. That's the Adirondack Experience Museum out in Blue Mountain Lake. It is worth taking a drive for the day. If you come up to the High Peaks region, it's a little bit of a drive. If you go to that Old Forge, Western Adirondack kind of area, it's not far at all. But it is worth a drive no matter where you're staying in the park. You'll have a great time. Spend the whole day there so you can actually get the most out of it and just learn so much about this beautiful park that we all love. Yeah, I really like the trains there. The trains are cool. The whole like railroad history. I like railroad history. It's pretty neat, pretty awesome spot. Further down that road, as you head towards Old Forge, number 4 on James's top 10 things to do in the Adirondacks in summer 2023, take a day and go to the Enchanted Forest Water Safari Water Park in Old Forge. Once again, it's a cool spot. And in the Adirondacks, you don't really expect there to be these like big kind of, you don't expect like a theme park or a water park, but this is actually legitimate. We went again last summer, and you can hear that on the Appleton's Adirondack Staycation podcast episode I did. But that water park is legitimate. Kids will love it. Adults will love it. It's just a good time. Huge slides and tube rides and cool pools and lazy rivers. It's a water theme park, and it's right here in the ADK, and it's worth a day. You'll have a great time. Maybe work on your tan a little bit, and again, these are the businesses that I feel like we need to support here in the park, and also in terms of getting in, like. There's a crowd, obviously, but again, it's a smaller crowd. You'll get right in. Oh, you need to go out to your car? Yeah, just walk out to your car. It's just a smaller version of, what you'd experience in a gigantic place, but it's cool. I was really impressed last summer when my family went there. They do a fantastic job. So that is number 4 on my list of the top 10 things to do in the ADK this summer. Now, speaking of water, another thing I want to recommend, number 5, go kayaking and canoeing here in the Adirondack Park. It is, for a lot of people who, listen to this podcast, hiking is kind of probably the main thing you do, but for many it's not. There is just as big of a world of paddling, and that's what people do here in the park. And of course, every outdoors niche has its own community here in the park, and I would definitely recommend trying some lowland activities like canoeing and kayaking. You can rent boats you won't find a difficult time renting a boat. There's so many places you can rent kayaks and canoes in Lake Placid and Saranac Lake and Old Forge. That's a very easy thing to find if you don't have that. But get out and explore the water, experience, the lakes, because, if you go out west, so many people who go out west, or they come from out west, come here. It's just always, you notice out there, not an abundance of water. And then when they come here, they tend to notice, man, there's just so much water here. So it's something to not miss out on. Go out, rent a boat, hit the water, and you can get, you should get maps and explore, do the same type of homework you would do before you'd go out into the high peaks, but, you check out the lakes or this river that you're going to paddle. It's a good time, especially if you just go in a lake and, you go explore and just paddle around. It's a totally different view. It's a different vibe. If you're into fishing, which I am, you could also do some fishing, even though I'm sure if you are into fishing, you probably already do get in your kayak and go out in the lake to do so. But that's one thing I want to highly recommend to people. And in particular, I want to recommend going on the upper and lower Saranac Lakes. So that is a place, those lakes, the upper and lower Saranac, are an awesome place to paddle because there's all these little islands and you got these mountain views. It is truly an epic time. And you could explore those lakes for days. So many cool spots to go to and little islands to paddle to and get out and eat lunch. And yeah, it's a good time. And then there's also, you could do some river work. There's just so much to do in terms of the water. So that's something I want to encourage people to try this summer. Get out in the water, grab some paddles, grab a life jacket. You can, again, rent these at all the outfitters. There's plenty of them. You'll just drive through town. You'll see like 3 or 4 of them no matter what town you go in. It's obviously a big activity to do. But if you never have, I want to recommend give it a try. Get out in the water and see what that's all about. Because I have a feeling, like hiking and like climbing to a summit, it'll grab you really quickly. All right, sticking with the water, number 6, whitewater rafting. Now, a lot of people don't think of the Adirondacks as a place where you're going to do some whitewater rafting, as that's kind of reserved for the big rivers out west. But this is the ADK. There are still places where you can do that. There's so many spots. There's so many outfitters throughout the park. All you have to do is give a quick Google search for, whitewater rafting, ADK, and you'll find, there's probably like 20 different outfitters in the Adirondacks. But, you can go down the Hudson River Gorge, the Great Sacandaga River. This would be kind of your more centrally Adirondacks, where the whitewater rafting outfitters tend to work out of. So location-wise, keep that in mind. But yeah, that is another activity. If you came up here for the week, enjoyed your little Adirondack vacation, your getaway, and you did all these things, and then you also included some whitewater rafting into the mix for one afternoon, oof, you are just having an adventure, an ADK adventure. Check it out. Lots of different places that you can go, and different outfitters who can get you hooked up. And whether it's, you could go family friendly, you could go with friends, you can go in groups. And then some of these places too also will outfit you on kind of like this, like the lazy river sort of thing too, depending where you want to go, what you want to do. But again, getting out in the water this summer is a fantastic thing. And just to name a few, you've got Adirondack Adventure Center, you've got the Adirondack Whitewater Rafting, Beaverbrook Outfitters, Adirondack Rafting Company out of Indian Lake. There's just lots. There's just so many places that you can check out and people you can call to book some time, and they'll take you down the river and you'll have the time of your life. So that's another thing. That's number 6 on James's 10 things to do in the ADK in summer 2023. Moving on, number 7, the North Creek Rail Bike Tours via Revolution Rail Company. So if you're not familiar, these are basically, giant bicycles that go on the railroad tracks, more or less. That's pretty much what they are. Bunch of you paddle them, two in rows of 2. It's just more ways to explore the ADK. So basically, they're just you're pedaling on the railroad tracks, and there's great. It's a great time. They used to have these in Saranac Lake, but the tracks are no longer there. But this company, Revolution Rail Company, they're in North Creek, and that's where you can do a lot of these rail bike tours. I would definitely recommend checking that out. North Creek's also a cool town in general, and you can have a lot of fun there. But it's let me go to the site here. Rail Bike Adventure for All. Yeah, and they're based all over the country here. But it's a cool operation. I've done it in Saranac Lake, and I know pretty much everybody that I speak with always speaks so highly of it. They have such a good time, and there's lots of places you can go. Some of these are 5-6 miles out and back, so it's you're getting a big bang for your buck, and you're going through the Adirondack woods that nothing else is going through. So like hiking, like being out in the woods, we like going to those places that aren't being explored. And that's something that's fun to do with the family. It's fun to do with, you come up with your buddy, you come up with your wife, your spouse. Great thing to do. Once again, that is the Revolution Rail Company's North Creek Rail Bike Tours. Check it out. Number 7. That is number 7 on my top 10 things to do in the ADK this summer. Moving on to number 8. Go camping. Camp a night or many more, but at least one night. Sleep outside. Now in the Adirondacks, there's, you got KOA campgrounds. There's a really nice one in Wilmington, but you have a million state campgrounds. And then on top of that, there's hundreds of lean-tos and, campsites in the mountains and on the trails. There's just the camping. I mean, you can do it anywhere. And whatever way you want to camp, whether it is at a state campground or whether it's at a KOA or whether it's, it's camping in the woods. And again, if you go camping in the woods, 200 feet from a trail, 200 feet from a water source to legally camp. And again, no fires unless they are permitted. So check those regulations before you go out there. There are no fires permitted in the High Peaks Wilderness, and otherwise they have to be in an already made fire pit. So just be aware of that. But I highly recommend get out and do some camping this summer. And if you've never done it or you don't like it, give it a try anyways. And if you do like it, do it a lot. Just sleep outside. It's so great. It's just such a different world. I know I wish my family did it more. We have some very young kids, so it becomes a bit of a challenge, especially since my style is a very minimalist camper. I will just want nothing, and I'll just sleep and then wake up and go, especially in the summertime. But obviously when you have kids, it becomes much more of a to-do. But that's something I want to highly recommend for people to do this summer. And again, there are campgrounds everywhere. And you do got to some of them are first come, first serve, but a lot of them you do have to, make a reservation for them. And those things do fill up pretty quickly. But whatever your preference is, whether it's campgrounds or lean-tos or in your tent, just get out and do some camping this summer. And again, if you're coming up for a week in the ADK or just 5 days or 2 weeks vacation, and you add a night of camping to the mix or the whole week or even just one night, it'll really add to your just overall experience of your Adirondack vacation. Moving on, number 9, go visit the Ausable Chasm, which is dubbed as the Grand Canyon of the East. It is an absolutely incredible spot. If you've never been, or just look it up on YouTube, look it up on the internet. It's a pretty wild spot, and if you have no reason to go out, if you never had a reason to go out there, you'll see then you're like, this exists here. This is wild. They call it the Grand Canyon of the Adirondacks. But let me read off on their website here. Come visit Ausable Chasm for an assortment of adventures you will not find at any other single location in the ADK. Hike, float, and climb as you go back in time as you experience one of the oldest natural attractions in the United States. Established in 1870. Immerse yourself in an Adirondack forest as you stroll past Rainbow Falls, Elephant's Head, Column Rock, Hyde's Cave, and the eerie quiet of Mystic Gorge. Descend hundreds of feet to walk on natural stone walkways and gaze upon eons of geologic history etched in stone. But yeah, you can do some rafting, you do some hiking, tons of trails there, waterfalls, rock climbing. It is a pretty wild spot. That is the Ausable Chasm Adventures in the Adirondacks. And that is, hold please, 2144 Route 9, Ausable Chasm, New York. Check it out, of course, AusableChasm.com. And honorary mention to that will also be High Falls Gorge in Wilmington. It's another spot that it's literally right on the side of the road off in the notch from Lake Placid to Wilmington. But if you don't know it's there, you just would never see it. But then when you actually, pay the money to go into High Falls Gorge and then you walk their trails along the gorge, it's really impressive. And I definitely want to recommend checking it out. I think it will add to your appreciation of the Adirondack Park and just your overall, appreciation of nature and what it can do and how powerful it is. You get to these chasms, you see these gorges, you're like, water created this. Holy mackerel, this is an incredible thing. So again, Ausable Chasm and High Falls Gorge, honorary mention. That is number 9 on my top 10 things to do in the ADK summer 2023. And finally, speaking of water once again, do some swimming this summer. Jump in a lake, jump in a river, whether you're, hiking a trail or you're just walking around town. Get into a natural body of water. There's just something different about when your head dunks in the water in a river or a lake compared to, a swimming pool, which is what most people swim in. But when you jump in a lake, you swim in a river, that just fresh feel, it just hits differently. And I mean, is there anything more summer than jumping in the water? I really don't think there is. And that's why I started this list with ice cream and I'm ending it with going swimming, jumping in the water. And I like to go to the Lake Clear Beach, not like I'm, giving away secrets or anything, but the Lake Clear Beach in the Adirondacks, I think is just the best. It's a public beach. And I mean, beach is also kind of used loosely. It's really, it is technically a beach, I guess, but it's not like there's no lifeguards or buoys or anything. And that's why I like it. It's just like a nice lake with a nice area to just, set up, have your little picnic, go in the water. The water's great views out there in Lake Clear. And it's just a good time. Love it. But that's what I want to recommend to you guys. I want to get out there, get in the water, jump in and feel like a kid again when you go swimming. All right, that's going to wrap up my 10 things to do in the Adirondacks this summer. Now, if you do all of these things, you're going to have an absolutely amazing adventure in the Adirondacks. And if you do a few of these, even better. That's better. That's good too. It's just getting out and doing things and getting outdoors. You've been inside all winter most likely. Now's the time to get out and wearing shorts and a t-shirt. It's such a nice experience. It's a nice vibe. Summertime is hard to beat. Now, there's one bonus that I wanted to add to the mix. Mountain biking. The mountain biking trails in the Adirondacks continue to expand, and similar to kayaking and paddling, if you needed to rent, you can rent a mountain bike and go enjoy the trails. There are so many trails for all sorts of experience level, and there's some in the southern part of the park, the central part of the park, out in the western part of the park. There's tons in the High Peaks region. Shout out to all the organizations that volunteer to create those trails, the beta trails, and it's everything. People do some amazing work in the mountain biking community in the Adirondacks, and it has blown up. So that's another thing I want to give you kind of a bonus. Check it out. Maybe add that to your list. It's definitely more of a niche, and it might be more of a wild card item, but most of us know how to ride a bike, and there's trails for every experience level. And riding a bike in the woods, it's cool, it's different, And, I just want to encourage everyone, try something different this summer. Think, what do you like to do? Everyone has their niche. Everyone has their like main outdoors activity. And a lot of people, they kind of identify as what they do. Oh, I'm a rock climber. I'm a hiker. I'm a kayaker. It's like, okay, that's cool. For people like myself, I just like to do anything that's outside. So I like to do all sorts of different things. So I highly encourage you guys to try something new too. Get out there, experience something different. Maybe push yourself a little bit outside your comfort zone, experience a new thing that might become a giant hobby. Maybe it won't, but at least you'll have that experience. And again, it gets you out into the woods in the Adirondacks. What could be better? So anyways, I'm going to leave you with that. Try something new in the Adirondacks this summer. Get outdoors. Be outside as much as you can. Get that vitamin D. And thanks for listening to this episode of the 46 of 46 podcast. I appreciate you guys sticking with me, especially as I'm on the road traveling for work. So the episodes haven't been pumping out as fast as normal, but that's about to change when I finally get off this show that I've been working on. And I'll be back in the 80K to enjoy my summer adventures. Check back on Fridays for new mountains, new stories, new guests, and new episodes right here on the 46 of 46 podcast. Head over to 46of46.com to check out some other things that I have to offer. And thanks for listening. Remember to always leave no trace, do the rock walk, and if you carry it in, carry it out. See you on the trails and get outdoors this summer. See you in the 80K.